Welcome to Magnify Your Thoughts. Today we're going to be looking at humor and how does it function. Humor in essence is anything that makes us laugh. It can be found at stand-up comedy, movies, or talk shows. We literally consume it every day. However, when we try to create it, very often we fall flat on our faces. Or that's just myself. The best part is when you try out your new joke in front of an audience and you get blank stares and hear imaginary crickets. Even if you decide one day to read books on how to be funny, it's like memorizing mathematical equations or formulas and saying, now I know math. Or reading a book on basketball and saying, now I can play basketball. But don't worry. Just like basketball and mathematics, being funny is a skill and you can become better at it with practice. In reality, the way funny people create funny content is by starting with an ordinary sentence and then building on it. First, make an interesting sentence. Then delete some of the rhetoric. Create a setup. Write a new setup. Create a punchline. Rewrite your punchline. And eventually you create something that's called funny. How can you create something funny? In this episode, I'm going to give you one tool and a few tips on how to become funnier based on the book Stand-Up Comedy, the book written from Jody Carter. The simplest form of a joke is a setup and then followed by a punchline. The setup establishes a premise and the punchline breaks the audience expectations. This has to be done in a way where you still fulfill the initial premise you established, otherwise the joke is not funny. Alright, first let's start off with an example found in the book Stand-Up Comedy, the book. One of Jody's students wrote, I would drink because I wasn't married. And then I would drink because I was married. That's funny, that's good stuff. Well, one, it is at least 60% true, and a lot of us can relate to that comment. And two, it breaks our expectation, plus fulfills the initial premise. Now let's look at another example I'm gonna generate. I would drink because I wasn't married. And then I stopped drinking when I found a husband. Okay, that's not funny. Because the punchline did not break our expectations. However, it did fulfill the initial premise. It doesn't work. We have 1 out of 2. Let's look at another example. I would drink because I wasn't married. And then aliens came at my door and abandoned me. Abducted me, I think that's the word I was looking for. Okay, that's kind of funny, I guess. Alright, that's not funny. This line did break the audience expectations. However, it didn't fulfill the premise. It was just a completely random thought. We're going to continue with the student from Jody Carter. Her name is actually Mary Edith Burrell. She continues, then I would drink because I couldn't find my kids. And then I would drink because I found my kids. That's some good stuff. When I quit drinking, I realized that I had identical twins. I didn't even know that. I thought I was seeing double the whole time. Again, all of these break our expectations, they're true, and they fulfill the initial premise. Now, a few additional tips on how to be more effective in the art of humor based on the book. Be careful with funny stories. Funny stories usually don't function or work as well as you would expect, and they might leave you saying something like, well, you had to be there. Yeah, for some reason that doesn't work as well. Being goofy and overly obnoxious, again, it's not funny. It might be funny to your parents or like a friend, but overall it's highly discouraged. Unless that is within your character and that's who you are. Last, being funny is actually serious business. You have to adapt the persona and the style of a character when you're giving this information, and it makes the joke way funnier. If we look at the joke on not being married and then being married, if someone said that in a very exciting tone, it might not be as powerful if someone said it in a depressive tone because it's kind of sad. Again, that's why it's serious. And last, the reason I chose to talk about comedy, it's because I hold it really dear in my heart, and I really believe that it's an art form that people can become better at it, and you're constantly getting direct feedback, wanting it or not. When you throw a line where it's supposed to be funny and people don't laugh, that's because you're not funny. And it's not their fault, it's your fault. So it only gives you one choice to get better. Whereas if you compare it with a few different art forms, let's say photography or drawing, poetry, those are amazing art forms. However, if someone doesn't like your work, one, they can hide it from you, whereas in comedy they can't hide it. And then two, if someone makes a remark that you don't like, you can shelter your ego by saying like, you don't understand my art, you don't understand my vision. Where in comedy, no, it doesn't work like that. If something that you utter is not funny, it's your fault. And with that said, this episode comes to an end, and I really hope you can use this tool, setup, and punchline to make some people laugh.